She did not mean to fall. Her legs simply stopped listening. One moment she was forcing herself forward, whispering promises to stay awake.
Can't stay here, not after
The
what
next, the
happened.
ground rushed up and she knew this was where it ended.
Where else is there to go?
She reached out without seeing who stood there and felt arms catch her before the earth could claim her. Strong arms, steady. A voice followed, low and calm, cutting through her fear. Easy now, I've got you. Her mouth worked, dry and cracked. She clung to the front of his coat like it was the last solid thing left in the world. Please, she whispered. I can work. I swear I can. The man looked down at her with something unreadable in his eyes. Then he shook his head. No, he said gently, you can rest right here beside me. Darkness took her before she could argue. When she came back to herself, the first thing she felt was softness. Not grass, not dirt, a bed. It startled her so badly she tried to sit up, and pain tore through her like fire. Don't, a voice said nearby. Not yet. She turned her head slowly. A lamplight glowed against log walls. Clean walls. Solid. A small room, warm and quiet. The man from before stood near the door holding a tin cup. You've been out most of the afternoon, he said. Name's Nathan Cole. This is my place. She swallowed hard. Where am I? South of Fort Bridger, Cole Ranch. The words meant little. All she knew was that she was alive, and that alone felt unreal. He crossed the room and held the cup to her lips. Small sips. The water tasted like mercy. She drank carefully, hands shaking, afraid he might pull it away. He didn't. What's your name? He asked. Anna, she said. Just her first name. It felt safer that way. Nathan nodded as if that was enough. He waited while she drank, his presence steady but not hovering. When she finished, he took the cup and set it aside. You collapsed about 50 yards from the house, he said. If I hadn't been in the corral, you'd have gone down alone. Her chest tightened. Alone, that was a word she understood. She stared at the ceiling, memories pressing in whether she wanted them or not. Smoke. Screaming. Her father's hand shoving her behind a barrel. Her mother's voice cut short. A long walk with no destination and no water and no reason to believe it would end. I can work, she said suddenly, panic creeping into her voice. I don't need charity. I'll cook, clean, mend anything. Just don't send me away. Nathan studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled a chair closer and sat, resting his forearms on his knees. You're not a stray dog I'm deciding whether to keep, he said quietly. You're a woman who nearly died on my land. She flinched at the word died. You don't owe me a thing, he continued. Right now, your job is to stay alive. Her eyes burned. She turned her face away so he wouldn't see. I don't know how to do nothing, she said. If I stop, it all catches up. I know, he said. That's why I'm telling you to stop anyway. He stood and moved toward the door. There's broth warming on the stove. I'll bring some in a bit. You sleep. She wanted to argue. Instead, exhaustion dragged her under again. She woke later to the sound of rain tapping the window. Night pressed close outside. Nathan helped her sit, slow and careful, and fed her spoonfuls of broth. She cried quietly between bites, embarrassed by the way her body shook. He pretended not to notice. After, he wrapped fresh cloth around her blistered feet and bandaged her hands. His touch was firm but respectful, never lingering. When he finished, he washed his hands and stepped back. You're safe here, he said. I want you to hear that. Safe. The word felt fragile, like glass. Why, she asked. Nathan paused, considering. Because someone should have said that to you sooner. Morning came pale and cold. Anna woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. For a moment, she forgot everything. Then reality settled back in, heavy but quieter than before. A clean dress lay folded on the chair. Simple, mended. Beside it, soap and a brush. She washed slowly, watching dirt swirl away, as if the past days were finally leaving her skin. When she stepped into the main room, Nathan stood at the stove, bacon sizzling in a pan. You should still be in bed, he said, not turning. I don't sleep well anymore, she replied. He glanced over his shoulder and nodded once. Sit anyway. She did, legs weak. He set a plate in front of her and poured coffee into a chipped mug. She stared at the food, overwhelmed. I can't pay you. I didn't ask you to. I don't want to be useless. Nathan leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You survived something that kills most people. That's not useless. Her voice cracked. Survival isn't living. No, he said softly, but it's where living starts. She looked down at her hands. How long can I stay? He didn't answer right away. Outside, a horse nickered. The house creaked as the wind shifted. As long as you need, he said. We'll talk about the rest later. Tears slipped free despite her effort to stop them. She wiped them quickly, ashamed. Thank you, she whispered. Nathan met her eyes, his expression steady but changed. You don't thank a man for doing what's right. They ate in silence, not awkward, careful. For the first time since the trail, Anna felt the faintest thing stir beneath her fear. Not hope, not yet, but rest. Anna learned the house by sound before she learned it by sight. The creak of the back step at dawn, the scrape of a chair when Nathan rose, the steady rhythm of boots crossing the floor. Those sounds anchored her. They told her the world was still moving, even when her body refused to. For 2 days, Nathan insisted she stay near the bed. He brought water, broth, then bread. He opened windows when the air grew close and closed them again when the wind sharpened. He spoke only when needed, never pressing her to explain anything. The third morning, she swung her legs over the side of the bed and stood on her own. It hurt, but she stood. Nathan watched from the doorway, saying nothing. I can help, she said, breath shallow. Just small things. He studied her face. One thing, he said, then you rest. She nodded too quickly, afraid he'd change his mind. He handed her a basket of mending and sat across the room, oiling tack. She worked slowly, fingers stiff, stitching torn seams. The quiet felt earned. When her hands began to shake, she stopped. Nathan noticed anyway. That's enough, he said. She hated how relief washed over her at the permission. Each day after, her strength returned in pieces. She swept a little, washed dishes, sat on the porch and watched the land breathe. The prairie stretched endless and honest, offering no comfort but no lies either. On the 5th day, she asked the question that had been gnawing at her. Why are you alone out here? Nathan didn't answer right away. He leaned on the porch railing, eyes on the horizon. My wife died, he said finally. Fever. Took her quick, took our boy with her. Anna's chest tightened. I'm sorry. He nodded once. I built this place after. Thought work would quiet things. Did it? Some days. They didn't say more, they didn't need to. That night she dreamed of fire and woke gasping. Nathan heard her from the next room. He didn't touch her, just spoke from the doorway. You're here, he said. You're not alone. It was enough. A letter arrived a week later, carried by a writer from town. Nathan handed it to her without comment. The handwriting was careful, Eastern. Her aunt's words were kind but firm. Come home, safety, proper arrangements, a future that made sense. Anna folded the letter and stared at the table. You don't have to decide anything, Nathan said. I do, she replied. I always do. That night she didn't sleep. 2 weeks passed. Anna could walk the yard now, could cook a meal that didn't leave her shaking. She learned the horses' names, learned which boards creaked and which didn't. She learned Nathan liked his coffee strong and his evenings quiet. The house changed without her noticing. A cloth here, a flower there, a place slowly remembering what it was meant to be. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Nathan spoke. If you leave, he said, I'll ride with you as far as the station. She swallowed. And if I stay? His jaw tightened. Then we figure out what that means. Silence settled between them, heavy but unbroken. The rider returned sooner than expected. Man from the east, he said, waiting 2 days in town. Anna felt the choice press in on her, sharp and unforgiving. She stood on the porch that night, letter clenched in her hand. Nathan joined her without speaking. I don't want to be rescued again, she said. I don't want to belong to someone else's idea of safety. He waited. I want to choose, she whispered. Even if it's hard. Nathan turned to face her fully. Then choose. She looked at the land, at the house, at the man who had caught her without asking for anything in return. I'm staying, she said. The words felt terrifying, and right. Nathan let out a slow breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Then you stay. Not a promise, not a demand. A decision shared. They stood together as darkness settled, the prairie wide and quiet around them. Something fragile and new took root in the silence. Not love, not yet, but belonging. Staying did not feel like relief. It felt like stepping onto thin ice and deciding to trust it anyway. The morning after her decision, Anna woke before dawn. She dressed quietly and stepped outside, letting the cold air steady her thoughts. The land lay still, waiting. She wondered if it would reject her choice. It didn't. Nathan came out later, surprised to find her splitting kindling. "I said rest," he told her. She met his eyes. "I said choose." He watched her work for a moment, then nodded. "All right, but we do this slow." They began again, carefully, as if learning each other a second time. The days settled into a rhythm that felt honest. Anna handled the house and the garden. Nathan worked the land. At night, they shared meals in silence. Sometimes words, sometimes memories that rose without warning. One evening, Anna spoke of the trail, of the sound that came before the attack, of how time broke apart after. Nathan listened without interrupting. When she finished, he didn't offer comfort, he offered understanding. "I wake some nights thinking I hear my boy crying," he said. "Grief doesn't ask permission." "No," she agreed, "it just arrives." They sat with that truth, neither trying to fix it. Mrs. Caldwell came by twice a week after that. Older, sharp-eyed, respectable. She brought bread and questions and stayed just long enough to make it clear Anna's presence was known and accepted. "You'll be fine here," the woman told her one afternoon. "But don't mistake kindness for weakness." Anna didn't. She had learned better. Weeks passed. Strength returned to her limbs. Color returned to her face, something warmer returned to the house. Nathan noticed first. He noticed the way the rooms held sound again, the way meals lasted longer, the way evenings no longer felt empty. One night, as he read aloud by the fire, Anna watched his hands. Scarred, steady. Hands that had caught her without hesitation. When he finished the chapter, she spoke. "Why didn't you let me work that first day?" Nathan closed the book. "Because you were breaking. And because the world already taught you that worth must be earned." She nodded. "It did. I wanted to teach you something else," he said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You did." The change between them came quietly. It was in the way he paused when passing her in the hall, in the way she waited for his boots on the porch, in the space that felt charged but untouched. One afternoon, they worked side by side repairing a fence, their hands brushed. Both froze. Nathan stepped back at once. "I won't take from you," he said. "Not after what you've been through." Anna's heart pounded. "I'm not made of glass." "I know," he said. "That's what scares me." She studied his face, seeing the restraint there. The care. "I don't need saving anymore," she said softly. "But I don't want to be alone." He swallowed. "Neither do I." They stood in the open land, wind tugging at their clothes, the truth between them like a held breath. That night, Anna couldn't sleep. She went to the porch wrapped in a shawl. Nathan followed, drawn by instinct more than sound. "You should be resting," he said. She smiled faintly. "I am." They sat side by side, not touching. "If I ask you to leave," he said carefully, "it wouldn't be because I don't want you here. It would be because I want you to choose without pressure." She turned to him. "And if I ask you to stay close?" His jaw tightened. "Then I'd be asking myself if I deserve it." She reached out, stopping just short of touching his hand. "Do you think I survived all that to be afraid of wanting something?" He looked at her then, really looked. "No," he said, "I don't." The first touch was small, her fingers resting against his sleeve, his hand covering hers, warm and steady. They didn't kiss, not yet. It wasn't restraint born of fear. It was respect. The night deepened around them. Coyotes called in the distance. The house stood firm behind them. "Anna," he said, "if this goes further, I won't offer half measures." "I wouldn't take them," she replied. They shared a look that felt like a promise neither was ready to speak aloud. The rider came the next morning with news from town. Work, supplies, a reason for Nathan to leave for the day. As he saddled his horse, Anna felt something twist in her chest. Not fear, awareness. "You'll be back," she said. He nodded. "Before dark." She watched him ride away, realizing the truth as it settled quietly into place. She wasn't waiting anymore. She was building something. That evening he returned as promised. Dusty, tired, smiling when he saw her in the doorway. "I was thinking about you all day," he admitted. "So was I," she said. He hesitated. "I don't know where this leads." Anna stepped closer. Neither do I, but I know where I don't want it to end. He reached for her then, slow and certain. When he kissed her, it wasn't hunger, it was recognition. The fire crackled behind them. The world beyond the windows waited. They pulled apart gently, foreheads touching. "We take this one step at a time," Nathan said. Anna nodded. Together. Outside, the prairie stretched wide and open. For the first time since the trail, Anna felt no urge to run. Love did not arrive like a storm. It came the way the prairie does after winter, quiet, certain, unavoidable. After that night, nothing was spoken aloud, yet everything was understood. Nathan did not reach for her without asking. Anna did not offer herself without choosing. Their closeness grew in glances, shared work, and the simple fact of returning to each other at the end of every day. They learned each other's silences. Nathan whistled when he worried. Anna went still. Neither pushed, neither ran. Spring pressed its way into the land. The ground softened. Grass returned in shy patches. Anna worked the garden with a patience she did not know she still possessed. Nathan repaired fence lines and talked more than he used to, as if the world had finally given him something worth narrating. One evening, he came inside carrying a bundle of wildflowers. "I didn't know which ones you liked," he said. Anna took them, surprised. "No one's ever asked." He set them in a jar and placed them on the table without ceremony. "We can learn." The words settled between them. Learn. The town sent word through Mrs. Caldwell. People were talking. Not cruelly, just noticing. A woman living under a bachelor's roof was always noticed. Anna felt the weight of it settle into her shoulders. "I don't want trouble." Nathan looked up from mending a strap. "Neither do I." "What does that mean?" "It means," he said slowly, "that if you stay, it won't be as a favor, and it won't be as a secret." Her breath caught. "Are you asking me something?" "I'm telling you what I'm prepared to do," he said, "nothing less." She nodded, heart pounding. "Then tell me." He set the leather aside and faced her fully. "I want you here, openly, with intention." The room felt suddenly too small. "And if I say no?" "I'll respect it," he said. "And I'll help you leave if that's what you choose." She crossed the space between them, close enough to feel his warmth. "I didn't survive the trail to disappear quietly." A slow smile touched his mouth. "Good." They spoke of practical things after that, of town visits, of Mrs. Caldwell's continued presence, of boundaries that protected them both. Nathan did not promise comfort. Anna did not ask for ease. They promised honesty. The letter arrived 3 days later. From the east, Anna recognized the seal at once. Her aunt's careful script pressed into the paper like a command. She didn't open it at first. She carried it through the house, then out to the porch. Nathan watched her from the doorway, saying nothing. Finally, she broke the seal. The words were gentle, firm, certain of what was best. "Come home. Safety. Arrangements made." Anna folded the letter with hands that did not shake this time. "What does it say?" Nathan asked. She met his eyes. "It offers me a life that looks right from the outside." "And feels wrong?" She nodded. Silence stretched, then Nathan spoke. "You don't owe me an answer today." She exhaled. "I owe myself one." That night, Anna stood in the doorway of the room she had slept in since the first day. The room where she had been broken, healed, changed. Nathan appeared behind her. "You don't have to decide alone," he said. She turned. "That's the problem. I never have before." They moved toward each other without thinking. This time the kiss was deeper, slower. Not a question. When they pulled apart, Anna rested her forehead against his chest. "If I stay," she said, "I stay fully." He cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. "That's the only way I know how to live." Morning brought clarity and fear in equal measure. Anna wrote her reply at the table, sunlight spilling across the page. She did not explain everything. She did not apologize. She chose. When she finished, she sealed the envelope and felt something settle inside her. Not certainty. Commitment. Nathan rode into town that afternoon to send the letter. Anna watched until he disappeared beyond the rise, then turned back to the house. She cleaned, she cooked, she waited. The waiting did not feel empty. When he returned at dusk, she met him at the gate. "It's done," he said quietly. She nodded. "Yes." He studied her face. "Are you afraid?" "Yes." "Good," he said. "So am I." They laughed then, soft, real. That night they shared a room, not as a concession, as a choice. The intimacy was careful, patient, built on trust rather than need. When they finally slept, Anna felt something unfamiliar and steady. Peace without vigilance. Days passed, then weeks. The house no longer echoed. The land seemed to breathe differently. One afternoon, Nathan returned from town with news that tightened his expression. "The railroad surveyors are coming through this territory," he said. Soon, Anna felt the old tension stir. Change always carried a cost. "What does that mean for us?" "It means nothing stays untouched forever," he replied. "And it means people will start asking questions." She stepped closer. "Then we answer them together." He nodded. That night, as the fire burned low, Nathan spoke words that carried weight. "Anna, I won't promise you an easy life." She looked at him steadily. "I don't want one." "I can promise you partnership," he said, "and respect and a home built on choice." Her voice was clear. "That's all I ever asked for." He took her hands, grounding himself. "Then stay," he said, "not beside me this time, with me." She squeezed his fingers. "I already am." Outside, the wind moved through the grass, carrying the scent of rain and change. The frontier waited. And for the first time, Anna did not feel small before it. She felt ready. The land answered change before people did. Survey stakes appeared one morning like quiet warnings. Thin posts driven into the soil, red cloth tied to their tops. Nathan rode the fence line with a set jaw. Anna walked beside him where she could, counting the markers and feeling the ground tighten beneath her boots. "Railroad men don't ask permission," Nathan said. "They announce." Anna touched one of the stakes. "Then we speak back." He looked at her, searching. "This won't be clean." "It never is," she said. Meetings began in town. Men gathered with folded arms and hard voices. Some wanted to fight, some wanted to sell, some wanted to disappear before the ground shifted under them. Nathan listened more than he spoke. When he did speak, he chose his words carefully. Anna sat near the back at first. She watched faces, watched who leaned forward and who leaned away. She learned where fear lived. One evening, after a meeting ended in shouting, Nathan exhaled hard. "They're scared." "So are we," Anna replied. "That doesn't make us powerless." He studied her. "You're thinking again." "I never stopped." The railroad representatives arrived a week later. Clean coats, confident smiles, papers spread across the table like a finished argument. Nathan stood. "We have concerns." The lead man smiled thinly. "Everyone does." Anna stepped forward before Nathan could speak again. "Then listen," she said. The room went still. She spoke without raising her voice. About grazing land, about water rights, about the cost of driving cattle farther when lines cut through the range. About cooperation instead of resistance. The man's smile faded. "This is business," he said. "So is survival," Anna replied. Nathan watched her, pride and worry twisting together. They negotiated for 3 days. Not victories, compromises, a shifted route, a small depot closer to town, promises written down instead of spoken. When it ended, Nathan felt like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. They rode home in silence. When the ranch came into view, Anna let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "We didn't lose everything," she said. "No," Nathan replied. "We didn't." That night the house felt different, heavier, honest. They sat by the fire, shoulders touching. "You spoke like someone who belonged in that room," Nathan said. Anna stared into the flames. "I belong wherever I stand." He reached for her hand. "I used to think strength was working until you dropped." She squeezed his fingers. "It's knowing when to stand still." Winter arrived early. Snow pressed the world into quiet. Work grew harder. Days shortened. Nights stretched long. Anna learned the weight of carrying warmth into the cold, of listening for wind changes, of understanding silence as information. Nathan learned something else. He learned how much it mattered to have someone waiting. The first storm hit without warning. Snow came sideways. The barn roof groaned under the weight. Nathan worked until his hands went numb. Anna carried water and tools, her breath burning her chest. A beam cracked. Nathan slipped. She screamed his name before she thought. He landed hard but alive. They stood there in the snow, shaking, staring at each other. That night they held each other by the fire, the truth settling between them like ash. "This life doesn't forgive mistakes," Anna said. "No," Nathan agreed, "but it rewards stubbornness." She rested her head against his shoulder. Good thing we have plenty. Weeks later, the news arrived quietly. Anna noticed first. The fatigue. The way food turned her stomach. The way her body felt unfamiliar again. She said nothing for 2 days. Then she told him. Nathan sat down slowly. "A child?" he asked. "Yes." He covered his face with his hands. Fear and wonder tangled together. "Are you happy?" he asked at last. Anna nodded, tears threatening. Terrified but happy, he pulled her close. "Then we'll face it the same way we face everything. Together," she said. The winter tested them. Supplies ran low. Roads vanished. The world shrank to firelight and breath. Anna grew heavier with life. Nathan grew quieter with worry. One night, exhaustion broke her. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered, staring at the dark. "What if something goes wrong?" Nathan turned toward her. "Then I will be here. That doesn't stop danger." "No," he said, "but it means you won't face it alone." She pressed her forehead to his chest. "I'm so tired of being brave." He wrapped his arms around her. "Then don't be. Be held." She cried then, not loudly, fully. Spring came slow but sure. The land softened again. The barn stood. The house breathed. Mrs. Caldwell arrived more often now, her presence firm and reassuring. Women from nearby ranches brought advice, cloth, quiet understanding. Anna learned that survival grew stronger when shared. Late one afternoon, Nathan found Anna standing at the fence, one hand resting on her belly. "What are you thinking?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "That I begged once just to stay alive. And now? Now I'm staying to build something." He stood beside her, the horizon wide and honest before them. "Anna," he said, "marry me." She didn't laugh, she didn't hesitate. "Yes," she said. The word felt steady. Right. They stood there as the sun dipped low, the land stretching open around them. Hard, unforgiving. Home. Change was coming. Danger would come again. Nothing was promised. But neither of them was alone. And that, Anna knew, was enough to keep going. They married without spectacle. No church bells. No long guest lists. Just a small gathering in town, a borrowed room, a preacher with kind eyes and promises spoken plainly. Anna wore a simple dress Mrs. Caldwell helped stitch. Nathan stood tall and quiet, his hands steady even when his voice was not. When the preacher asked if they entered the union of their own free will, Anna answered first. "Yes," she said, clear, certain. Nathan echoed it without hesitation. Outside, the wind moved across the prairie as it always had, indifferent, watching. Life did not soften because they married. If anything, it demanded more. Summer pressed hard and fast. The baby grew strong inside Anna, her body heavy with both promise and fear. Nathan worked longer days, storing feed, fixing what winter might break. They spoke more about practical things now. Supplies, roots, neighbors close enough to call for help. At night, when the house was quiet, Nathan rested his hand against Anna's belly and waited for movement. There was always movement. "She's stubborn," Anna said once, smiling. Nathan smiled back. "She gets that honest." The labor came early. A hot afternoon, the sky low and heavy. Anna dropped the bowl she was holding and knew before the pain fully arrived. Nathan didn't panic. He sent for Mrs. Caldwell and did exactly what he was told. The hours blurred into heat and effort and breath. Anna clung to the edge of the bed, sweat-soaked and shaking. "I can't," she whispered once. "I can't do this again." Nathan leaned close, his voice steady even as his eyes shone. "You walked through hell and didn't stop. This pain has an end." When the child finally cried, sharp and alive, Anna sobbed with relief. A daughter. They named her Hope. The first weeks were a fog of exhaustion and wonder. Anna moved slowly, learning her child's needs. Nathan learned to sleep in pieces. Mrs. Caldwell stayed longer than planned, her presence grounding and firm. "You're not weak for needing help," she told Anna. "You're smart." Anna believed her. Autumn returned, gentler this time. The railroad depot opened down the line. Cattle shipped easier. Neighbors stopped by more often. The world edged closer, but it did not crush them. One evening, Nathan sat on the porch with Anna and the baby sleeping against her chest. "Do you regret staying?" he asked quietly. Anna looked out at the land. At the house, at the life stitched together from choice and stubborn hope. Not once, she said, do you? He shook his head. I stopped surviving the day you fell into my arms. She turned toward him. You didn't save me. No, he agreed, we saved each other. Years passed. Hope learned to walk on uneven ground, learned the sound of the wind before storms, learned that work and rest both had value. The ranch grew steadier, not richer, steadier. Anna found herself speaking at meetings, helping newcomers, sitting beside women who arrived shaken and afraid just as she once had. When one young woman begged to work for her keep, Anna took her hands and said the words that had changed everything. You don't owe me anything, sit, rest. Nathan watched from a distance, understanding settling deep in his bones. On a quiet evening many years later, Anna and Nathan stood at the fence where survey stakes once marked fear. The land stretched wide and familiar. Do you remember the first thing you said to me? Anna asked. Nathan smiled. You said you could work, and you told me no. He nodded. I told you to rest. She leaned into him. That was the first kindness I'd been shown without cost. Nathan pressed a kiss to her hair. The world teaches us to earn mercy. I wanted to build a place where mercy was given. They watched the sky deepen into stars. Anna thought of the woman she had been. The woman who walked until her body failed. The woman who begged to be useful so she would not be cast aside. She was gone now. In her place stood someone grounded, chosen, loved. That night, as the house settled and the prairie whispered outside, Anna held Nathan's hand and felt the quiet certainty of a life built not on rescue, but on rest freely given and strength freely shared. The West had taken much from them, but it had given them this: a home, a family, a place where no one had to beg to belong, and that, Anna knew, was a story worth remembering. If this tale stirred your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Frontier History Tales, where history rides the frontier, courage is tested, and love refuses to die. Until the next tale, ride on, partner.